Always rolling.
Always rolling.
I think it'll get real awkward.
I was going to actually just roll on the ground and start.
Oh, I wish you did. Anyway, boys, thank you for taking the time. We really appreciate it.
Of course.
This has been a very long time coming, not just to chat to you, but also to see you guys, because obviously a lot of cancellations. So
yeah.
This is
It's
exciting.
good to finish off these shows. I think these Vagabond shows are almost a year now since they've been announced, and we started the Vagabond run, nearly a year ago in Queensland, North Queensland. And then the Canberra show is the day that we all went back into lockdown again in New South Wales. So
we're now 11 months from when we started this tour, so it's an 11
longest tour ever.
Longest tour with the least amount of dates in that lockdown.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's so many other tours, you guys must be stoked to actually get to finish it, because so many were just it got pushed back, fuck it, we're cancelling it. And so many.
I'm glad that we were able to reschedule it and not have to cancel it. Because that was the last thing I wanted. Is I want people to have the hope that it's going to happen. It's just dealing with COVID again, It's
cool you guys were able to tour internationally in between, because a lot of people that have their tours lined up push back, now we're on tour somewhere else, we can't make it work. So
it's a miracle we've been able to do what we have been able to do as well. As you said, we somehow managed not to have to cancel anything in Australia in 2 years, which is good. Just a lot of reschedules, but I think that's why these dates now feel so kind of surreal, because it's it was literally getting to the point where it was will these ever happen, or will we have to bite the bullet and cancel it at some point? So to finally put these dates to bed and give people what we promised them is a really good feeling.
We are going to do it. Just wait a long time.
We told you we were going to play the shows. Thank you for holding your ticket. We weren't lying. Yeah.
The sad part is people were probably more expecting the shows to get canned than not. So because it just happened so many times.
And there were so many bands actually cancelling their tours as well that was going on. So it was when tours were getting announced, people were well, is it going to happen? Because they cancelled their tour,
And in fact, you're
there's so much uncertainty around everything.
Rotate artists that are supporting as well was really great. You didn't just cancel lineups, you're able to sort of...
pretty stoked to actually be able to add Alpha on for these shows, because they were in town, so...
The timing worked out.
It worked pretty well,
Yeah, but it was funny though, we had 2 tours that were supposed to be 4 months apart, and now they've ended up being smushed together into, and now we're kind of doing 2 tours simultaneously and wrapping them up at the same time, but it's kind of cool, because it means we get to see more of our mates in 1 week. We've got shows with Alpha and Justice and Mirrors, and then right now we've got Deadlights and Above Below, so it's we're seeing a lot of friends in 1 week, which is cool.
That's sick. With the America thing, obviously, America's been back at it sort of a little bit longer than us now. How was the paranoia when you're over there, and what sort of preparations do you do? It's just because fuck, if one of us get COVID, that's it.
Oh, dude, I was stressed. When we're at the airport, flying over, because you had to do the test at the airport before you fly. I'm I swear to God, if one of us has caught COVID, that's it. We're not going to go over there until we get better. It was quite stressful. But when we were there, we're wearing face masks and stuff at first, but everywhere it was just business as usual. Some people were wearing face masks, but everywhere, unless it was a business that had up to wear a face mask inside, no one was wearing face masks. It was kind of COVID really didn't exist. So the first handful of shows we were really cautious, wearing a face mask and everything, hand sanitizer. But as time went on, we were well, we're not being stupid. It's we weren't going out in the crowd and stuff like we usually do, because being COVID safe. So if we're backstage or in our bandwagon, it was well, we're in our own little COVID bubble, so we're being safe. The main thing was worrying that making sure that we didn't get COVID before we go to Canada. Cause that was within, I think, a week and a half or 2 weeks time of us being there. So it was the week leading up, make sure we're good, we don't get COVID, don't get sick, so that once we go to Canada, then we're fine. Then the rest of the tour would be peachy until we have to come home. So
as you said, I think the main thing that got in the way of was just normally when we're in somewhere like the States as well, especially when the shows aren't quite as big as they are here, so there is a bit more room to kind of go and meet people, and normally the US shows we would just stay at the merch table until everyone's gone and kind of just
I'm usually selling merch and stuff,
because it's hard for us to get over there, so we try to kind of max out as much, meeting people.
Kind of give a bit more to
so I think
the fans,
so I think that was kind of the tough thing this time around, is that we're we know you guys have waited 2 years to get that vinyl signed or something like that. It's we did as much of that as we could, but it was just we couldn't go out and be at merch for an hour after the show the way we might otherwise. But that was the main thing it affected. It was funny because we arrived in LA, I think the day after the mask mandates lifted in California.
Oh.
So we got over there expecting things to still be a little bit sketchy, and everyone was kind of in like post-COVID mode. And it's like it's a sunny day in California, and we're walking up and down the Sunset Strip and stuff like COVID never happened, and we're all just like, are we here right now? Like, we're really walking up and down LA and everything's normal. Like, and I think it wasn't until like 2 or 3 weeks in we started to go like, all right, like something is bound to go wrong at this point. We're like, no one's had COVID. It's been 2.5, 3 weeks. Like at some point,
but the whole tour package, everyone was fine. No scares, no nothing.
Yeah,
like you got pretty sick at one point. Rick got pretty sick at one point, but it wasn't COVID. No one got COVID, which was like a miracle.
I feel like that's a weird thing now though. Like anytime now, I'm like, I'm slightly sore throat.
Yeah,
it's like I'm dying.
Yeah.
Oh, that flu we got a groove in the mood. We got moo flu.
Yeah.
It was bad. We came home.
That was pretty much me. Like I didn't sleep for like 4 days after we got back from LA. And then we had the 2 first Groove in the Mood shows, and I was just sick as a dog, and I basically got everyone else sick.
Yeah.
Because like you guys touring, you don't get time to have downtime. You're flying, you guys want to stay performing.
It's rough, dude.
You get on yourself, and then coupled with is this COVID. We just got back from London. It's the same thing. Got there, hit the ground running, and they have no restrictions. Like literally nothing.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm definitely getting this, and there's no tweak.
Yeah, I guess going back to the America, the great thing was that like now that we've done it, it's like we successfully did a tour internationally, still dealing with COVID. Like the world is still dealing with COVID, and like so it's like, well, if we can do that, we can do anything in Australia. We can go over. Like things can happen now. Like we proved it, we can do it. Like the uncertainty has kind of been crossed out now, or at least like we know the precautions to take when on tour now overseas.
Sure,
we're prepared now. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're no longer in the mindset of like overseas touring is out of the question. Which is for like 2 whole years, and people are like, you guys might never get to tour overseas again. And we're like, please don't say that.
Surely that must have been like a little bit like of a concern in the back of your minds, because you guys
for sure,
especially on that like the second album, like the newest album, like and it's just blown up, and you're just one of the names overseas that everyone knows, and it's just like, well, fuck, are we ever going to be able to do this?
We had like a whole year and a half's worth of plans just
headlining for like a year and a half, just crossed off.
Wait until it may happen, and so that's like kind of where the pieces have kind of fallen in. Like America, that was meant to happen, I think, later in 2020. Yeah. Like it was close to being announced, and then obviously COVID hit.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, we're not going to announce it, are we? Like,
was there any like anxieties for you guys about like we've had this time off? We were like on the ground running, and now we have to take a pause. Can we keep that momentum going?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I think the thing that kind of alleviated is just like knowing that everyone else was in the same boat, which is not something that you're happy about. Everyone else being in that boat. It was a weird
peace of mind, though. At the same time,
you know, if our band stopped for some other reason for 2 years, we would be like, oh my god, what are we like? How are we gonna kind of gather ourselves and get the momentum?
Yeah,
because I think because everyone else was going, but it's like there's something about being like, okay, this is not a unique situation for us. This is just how things are. Nobody's band is progressing right now. So like,
there was a period of time though. Sorry. You finished. Sorry.
No, go on.
Which you touched base on before is that like America kind of seemed to get the ball rolling with shows and tours a lot earlier than the rest of the world. So there was a little period of time, I think it was more towards the end of last year, where like we were seeing festivals happening and like a couple of tours that were happening in America, and we're all just sitting here like, oh, we just want to tour our own country and we can't. Like with all the restrictions, we were back in lockdown again. Like there was like that little window where it was just like that frustration that was just like, we're twiddling our thumbs waiting until we're able to do anything. Like,
I mean, yeah, there definitely was some anxiety about like, you know, I think just because we were right on the edge of when things were supposed to get really busy. And I think that's why that was the most frustrating thing, is because when it first started, we were about to have, say, like a very short, much needed break of a couple of months, and then go into like the biggest touring year that we've ever had lined up. And so having that kind of snatched away, there was just this whole like, what happens to this record? Like, is anyone still going to be listening to it in a year and stuff? But I think what did reassure us was that like people did keep buying the tickets for the shows, like, and that we, you know, the number of people seemingly checking out the music or streaming it and stuff like that was still solid. And like a year, 2 years down the track, we were still seeing stuff grow for us, like online, and fans still asking when they were going to see us, and we could tell that the interest in the record hadn't gone away. Yeah. So we're just trying to take whatever reassurance we could from that, and just kind of try and keep moving forward with a bit of a
look, we've spoken to a couple of bands about that. Like if anything positive has come out of that whole 2 years, it's the fact that I think everyone realised how badly they need this, how badly they want this, and because
What
we know, because we
Facebook
started
brand
this
is
channel through lockdown, like, well, just before COVID, and like
No,
just
it was during lockdown.
was it? Yeah, it
Yeah.
was too. That's right, because we started because I couldn't play
Couldn't
music
see you.
anymore. I was like upset. Yeah, and like just noticing like how hectic the consumption. Like people just want more and more. Like give us reactions, give us music videos, give us like live playthroughs, give us riffs in your fucking bedroom. Just give us shit because we
It's
miss
become like
it.
a renaissance of heavy music again.
Yeah.
Fully has.
Which is so fucking cool to see, and like it may be a silver lining that's come from it. Because like, are you noticing like new energy at shows?
A little bit. I mean, I like
yeah.
like over the past few years, like, you know, some tours, some shows, like not everyone would show up straight away. Like, I mean, it's always kind of been like that, but like I've noticed since coming back that like there's like more people through the door earlier than there ever used to be. I think from fans realizing how hard it was for bands during COVID and like all the support, you know, merch purchases, streaming, this, that, everything that fans have done to help support bands over the past 2 years. I think that has now translated to the live part of things of like, well, I'm going to go see them. I'm going to go see every single band. Because it's like come back to like almost like a bit of a reprogramming of how to support bands again. At least that's the way I've seen it, because there's people coming out from the first band, like all through America, like it was packed shows from the get-go.
That's it.
And like these shows, like in Adelaide and Perth, or just on the weekend, like people are there straight away.
Yeah.
Like there always has been, but it's been a bit more than what it used to be, and like it's really nice to see that.
Full Tilt Festival, watching people walk in from the moment the gates open, just everyone's in there. And we're like, this is so cool to
It's
see.
different to like 2-3 years ago now.
100%.
Like,
Everyone
it's
coming
great
like,
to
I
see.
want to see the band at 6 p.m, so I'll rock up at 5.
Yeah.
Now they're like, I'll be there at 12.
Maybe people realise that they've been spoiled for a long time. And suddenly they're like, instead of it just being like, oh, there's a show on this weekend, I might go.
I like
there's another show on like,
take it for granted.
suddenly they're like, it was like a rock show this weekend. I've been looking forward to that, not just for like 5 days, but for 2 fucking years. It's like, and you can definitely see it in some people's faces as well, just like how much it meant to them. I think that when it really hit me was those first Brizzy shows we did was a big one, especially because we had a couple of all ages show. We had an all ages show there, and there were kids. There were kids in the crowd who were like, I'm pretty sure like 14 or 15, and not only does that always blow my mind when I see someone that's very clearly like in their mid-teens and something, it's like, you know, I can tell it might be their first show, but then thinking about the fact that, you know, 2 years ago, you were probably 12. Like, and you haven't seen it. You may have never seen a show. You may have been waiting 2 entire years to go to your first rock show. And that's really crazy to me. It's like thinking what it must mean to them, not just to go to their first show, but to go to their first show after potentially having digested this music for 2 whole years in their bedroom, just waiting to see it.
And never experiencing it live. Like, I know for a fact, because like,
it was crazy.
Because we had like both Parkway tickets and Kiss tickets that I was taking my kid to. Like my kid's 10, he's seen you boys twice. Like, you guys are way his bands. And
tell him say what's up.
And just the fact that like he knew that like Parkway was coming out and then it got cancelled, and then it was coming out and then it got cancelled. He's like, and like he said to me once, he's like, do you reckon we'll ever get to go to a concert again? And I was just like, fuck, I haven't thought about that. Dude, why would you do this to me? Like, just having these kids asking the big questions.
They ask the tough ones, don't they?
Oh yeah, they do.
And it's just such an innocent mind, like, well, like, you're like, oh, I can't answer this.
Don't know you process this.
Where did this come from? Oh god.
You feel like you need to be reassured though. Like, no, of course, son, of course you will. But it's like maybe.
Streaming down
Yeah, happy crying or sad crying? Anyways,
the energy has definitely been like amazing to see. Like I said, I think you can see like that hunger for a lot of people, and like there's there's a real like openness that people come to you with like after this time as well. Like especially like they come and they just want to tell you all these things about what the music has meant to them in that time and stuff like that. Like I definitely have got to experience like how much people have relied on music in these 2 years as well, just from the way they talk about what the concerts means to them now or what the records mean to them now, whether it's like talking about our record or talking about Alf Wolf's record or just talking about records that they've been listening to in the past couple of years. Like, I think people are genuinely like, that's what they've leaned on a lot.
Does that give you guys like a new sort of like, because you've been doing this for a hot minute now, like does that give you like a renewed sense of like pride in your music and what your music does mean to other people? Does it sort of hit home now? Like
you try not to put too much weight on it because it's almost like can get a bit much. Like it's gonna be a lot to handle. Like it's a pretty heavy thing to think about. Like that that level of gravity that music can hold. Also, you also just don't want it to kind of go to your head. But it's
we're fucking amazing.
it's just it definitely reminds you why you do it and stuff. And after 2 years off, like there's a weird conflict between like being like I can't wait to get back to doing this, but there's also like, to be honest, there's some trepidation of being like, how good are we going to be at this after 2 years? Like, can we still do what we think we can do? You know what I mean?
Those first shows back in North Queensland were like a good dusting off of like I was like dead like halfway through a set. Like, I don't know how the hell I did this like for over an hour every night, and I'm here doing it, and I could barely last half an hour. Like,
and at the same time as you want to do it so badly again because of the time that you've had off. Also, like we're not used to being at home in our own comfortable spaces for a long time. Like we were. For the years before COVID, like 3 or 4 years straight, we were barely home for more than a few weeks at a time. So after 2 years in your own home, you do get comfortable, and there's also a part of you that's like, I don't want to go sleep in a vehicle. I like really like my bed. I like my home. I like being with the people I love, and it's like. So when there can also be a little bit of a fear, I think, coming back to it after that time, being like, am I ready to put myself in the deep end and do this every night and be battered up and sore and like. Get hurt on stage and sleep horribly and stuff. And it's like you come back and you do those shows and have those conversations, and it's like that instant reminder, like, yeah, it's not just worth it because of how fun it is to play music. Like it's also, there's so much more to it as well.
It was a bit like that in America, like being the first big chunk of time that we've been away from home over the past 2.5 years. Like we even had a couple of conversations like, this feels weird. Like it's oddly familiar, but at the same time, I don't know how the hell we did this so regularly for so long.
We were so
like,
conditioned to not question it.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was like going away for a month
did,
and a half was just what we did. It was our lives, and then now it's like, oh, we got to do that. Wow, that's a significant amount of time away. Like, it's just almost weird thinking about that's the normal. That's what we're going back to doing now. Like,
and the flip side of that is like the partners, because you've been with them for 2 years straight.
Yeah.
And have left their
side. It makes it harder. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It makes it harder.
You got comfortable with this. You got used to having me around.
Sorry, sweetheart. I love you.
So how was the downtime for you guys in terms of productivity?
It was very up and down, to be honest.
It was like, a little
it's easy to like it's tough as like I think a lot of artists went through a similar thing that we probably did, where you feel like, oh, I've got all this endless stretch of time at home. I should just be writing I should have written 3 albums in that time, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, for us, we had
wrote
literally just finished the record and it had only just come out, and then when it was like, all right, well, we're going to be in this for quite a significant period of time, so we should get an early start on album 3. It was very much like, we're not ready to do that. We still hadn't even finished with the other album, basically. Like
we played those songs when COVID started and everything got cancelled. We had literally played a total of 8 shows on the new material.
I think so.
So that was it. We'd done the 8 to 10 or whatever it was. The
Death of Me tour.
Yeah, I think it was 8. And
the last show I went to before COVID.
Yeah, I think it was for a lot of people too, which is crazy.
You guys just snuck in like a week or 2 before.
We were so lucky, like with that timing, especially with the fresh record. But like, yeah, we. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought.
Just that, trying to get back into writing, like, and use the time productively. Like, it took us a bit before we kind of. We hadn't had time to kind of like digest what the songs from that album even felt like live, and we're only really just now getting comfortable with them, which is crazy. Yeah. Like 2 years later, we've finally done that full month in America where you know your set intimately, and you can start to really feel great about the little nuances of the songs. You can start to feel great about every little bit, make it what it is supposed to be. But it's like at that point, we still didn't even really know how these songs felt live. We'd had such a short run of them, and it was like. And now we have to start writing new material just because we're at home. So we pieced away at stuff, but it was very like on and off. And I think we also had to give each other space to do whatever we needed to do. It was like, okay, if somebody needs time to themselves, if somebody needs time to work on another project, somebody needs time to just like work a regular job for a little bit and save up because we're not touring and we're not bringing in as much money.
Plus deal with the situation.
Yeah,
in its simplest form.
Had to be kind of patient with each other and with ourselves personally, like just to be like. Kind of do what we need to do, but make sure we're checking in on each other and we're never really losing sight of that the creative side as well. So we wrote on and off a lot, and we're still deep in that, to be honest. But we're getting a lot of good stuff out of it.
It was also like at least for me, like a bit of a breath of fresh air as well. Like we, of course, like the whole time off, like the forced time off wasn't wanted, but like we didn't kind of realize how burnt out we kind of were until that happened. So it was like it wasn't wanted, but far out it was needed. Yeah. Like, you know, and for a solid 6 months, it was like this felt good to, like, you know, actually have downtime, not doing anything, focus on ourselves a bit and everything. And then once like I think is when we started coming out of the first lockdown, it was like, okay, I think I'm good. I know how to go back into this, and, you know, like, we know what not to do when recording an album again, because the Death of Me was just such a hell of a process, and like,
it's a tough record. Yeah.
But then as time went on more and more, it obviously, like, it was like, right, well, you know, like with the guys for writing, like Zoom writing was very much a thing because we couldn't go to people, like, each other's houses, like go to Rick's and that. So it was like, how do we be productive? How do we keep, you know, being productive in the band when we can't do live shows, when we can't do a lot of certain things? Like,
yeah, it's funny for us because like the way we generally write best is when there's a few of us together in a room. Like we don't tend to write like in like a jamming format with like drums, guitar, bass all out. We do tend to, it's usually say like 3 or 4 of us sitting around throwing ideas around, recording them as we go and stuff. Oh, cool. And so we kind of had to move that. Like when we got to the second major lockdown from like June to October last year, that was at the point where everything had started to get better. So it's like the funny thing was we went through this whole process of 2020 and kind of figuring out, you know, writing in dribs and drabs throughout that. And then things started to get a bit more active, and we had the initial run of these dates, which was June last year, and we were just starting to get active again. We played our first run of shows in like 14 months or something like that.
Oh yes, it's back. That sucks. That sucks so much.
We had just gotten into the mode of things happening again and come back from North Queensland, and then it just went right back to where we were, and we're like, okay, now we have to figure out how to make this time productive, and take our writing sessions into like Zoom and Discord and stuff like that, and then. But again, it's not something you can do every day. You can't spend every day sitting on a Zoom session writing music 5 days a week. It would go crazy. So we had to kind of do it a bit on and off.
As much as we tried to.
Learn it the hard way.
Yeah.
You talked before about the songwriting process being different. What's it been like 2.5 years later, digging up that content you just delivered, and now like putting song, like, do you still have the same feeling towards...
Like on stage?
Yeah, like you didn't really perform those albums all that much. How's that been coming back to 2 years out? Like, do you have the same feelings and same emotives that you put into the songs, or is that...
I'd say, I'd say if anything, like, you know, having, like, you know, how you were saying before, like, people have had such a long time to digest, like, these albums and, like, our music and everything. It's almost been the same for us. Like, you know, we didn't... You know, we started writing new material and everything, and then, like, coming back to, like, playing shows again. Like, for me, like, I listen to, like, our set lists, I put, like, a playlist, and I'll listen through it time and time again to like drill in the set, like coming up towards the tour, and like just re-listening to the songs again was almost like a bit of a breath of fresh air. And then like playing these songs, like it's just seeing how people react to these new songs, especially after all this time. It's like, I don't know.
Refreshing?
Very, very refreshing, very shocking as well. Like some of the songs that I wasn't expecting to be such big sing-alongs, or like some moments that you weren't expected to be such a moment. You're like, what the hell? You just like, you know, we'll look at each other on stage or after the set, we'll be like, did you hear like that particular line in that song? Like, I've never heard anyone scream along to that. Like,
you'd forgotten how special it was. I think that's the cool thing, is when you forget how special a little moment was. And it's like, I think it gave us this little bit of distance from the record, which is good. Because I mean, when we went into it's kind of the opposite of what we had at the beginning. When we went into the album tour initially, we had no distance from it because we had been like flat out. We were flat out through the mixing process. We were getting it mixed while we were in America and listening to it in the van and like doing test mixes and taking notes. There was no distance whatsoever.
I remember finishing the Damascus music video the day before we went to America.
Everything was flat out, and then we
like the morning we finished vocals for the record, we recorded the music video. The next day we went to America.
Yeah, and then we got home and we had like 2 weeks in between America and going to Europe with Northlane, and it just never stopped. We were over there with Northlane, like showing those guys the record, being like, oh, it's like almost finalized, and just getting hyped up on it and stuff like that. But again, no distance. Came straight back into like festivals and then prepping for that tour. And the whole time it was just like, okay, I've got to get like good enough at these songs to play this tour. And that was kind of it. And then it came out and we were about to like ride that wave of enjoying the record being out. And then it was COVID. So yeah, the cool thing was in that time there was I definitely feel way better playing. Personally, I love playing the songs now way more than I did back then because I'm way better at them. Because I feel like I was terrible at all these songs when we did the album.
You just written them.
Because on drums as well, it takes a while to get comfortable playing the songs on a stage as well, and just know hitting as hard as you want to with the new stuff that. It's just and same with you with vocals, right?
Yeah, the time off was so needed. You're
trying to figure out how to breathe through those new songs.
We recorded and then came out of the studio, did that Oz tour with Architects, and we were in and out of the studio, and it was basically vocals for 6 months straight between tours and recording, and then COVID hit, and I was like, I can finally rest my voice, and I was worried that I'd done a bit of damage to it because on the Death Me tour, it just wasn't happening every night. It was a bit weird, coming out wrong. And then so the time off, after a bit of full-on vocal rest, I started doing vocal coaching with a guy in America called David Benitez, and just kind of re-approaching what I do, and even now playing these songs and just playing live, I'm feeling different. I'm feeling better. I still have rough nights. I'm still not 100% from being sick from 3 weeks ago, but I'm feeling way more confident in myself vocally. Approaching a set, approaching a tour now than I ever have been in this whole band's career. And it's great. I'm excited to do vocals. Whereas before I'd be I don't know how tonight's gonna go. Yeah. I don't want to get up there. I'm gonna make a fool of myself. I
feel like you, Jake, and I all learned a lot about our instruments or with vocals, but instruments in general, and the relationship between our bodies and our instruments. Whether it's me just learning how to treat my hands better and stuff, and not get worn out on stage, not hurt myself as much playing and stuff. And for you guys, the same thing with your voice. I think there's us three particularly in the last couple of years, in the time off, really kind of had a lot of time to just think about that and
how do we reapproach but still.
Yeah. Now I feel like I've come back. The way that I play these new songs now compared to how I played them 2 years ago is completely
You look so much more comfortable.
I couldn't even play them 2 years ago.
You look so much more comfortable than you did.
Yeah. There's still got work to do.
Well, everyone says vocals is just an instrument, and it is. But if you snap a stick, you can grab another one.
Yeah.
If you go through a head, you can put another one on.
I've got a slack off.
Yeah.
I'm
fuck you, man.
You're just gonna work with it.
No, we're not doing this tonight. And you're alright, what can you do?
Exactly.
You can prep, you can train, but sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess there's a silver lining, like you said. It was a hard time, but there are some positives. It's allowed you to come back maybe stronger.
There's been a lot of positives that's come out of it, for sure.
I wish all that shit hadn't had to happen for all of these benefits to come about.
Yeah.
You also, like I said, you're not the only ones that happen to, so maybe it's...
I think everyone, it's not just us, everyone, not just bands, every person in the entire world has had to deal with this.
Yeah.
In any and every single way,
We looked at it as a positive. We couldn't do this before. This wasn't a thing. Now we used to hang out with music and
this
things
is
we like doing.
A year we've been doing, just over a year we've been doing this, and it's just fucking crazy what it's got to.
Well, it's fantastic. It's given everyone a shake up, and I think people kind of stopped and went okay, well, if I can't work my normal job, why aren't I pursuing that project that I've always wanted to do?
Yeah, for sure.
Why can't I be doing it? And just having your life shaken up a little bit to give you a reason to try out something else is I think what a lot of people needed.
Yeah, for sure. Now we're going to ask the important questions, right? Okay. The would you rather.
Oh no.
Yeah.
All right.
So, don't you laugh.
She knows what's going on. We'll finish that one. Gandalf, you to be Gandalf or Dumbledore?
Gandalf.
Which do you be? Gandalf?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be Dumbledore.
What's your reasons? It can't be you can't.
I'm a Harry Potter guy. I've seen Lord of the Rings once, so that's probably a bit of bias because I haven't rewatched it.
On my arm, so I feel like I have to.
But
also, but here's the thing, right? Dumbledore falls off something high, dead. Gandalf falls off something high, comes back.
Dumbledore
I still choose Dumbledore.
Fall off. He asked to be. We won't get into it.
Fair call though. I mean, it's a tough question.
It's basically all nerd shit, all right?
Yeah.
Star Wars or Marvel? Okay, what do you choose, and then what character would you play?
Yeah, you're gonna be involved.
Now we're getting in depth.
I'm saying Wolverine for you.
I was going to say Star Wars straight away because I've loved Star Wars since I was a kid, but now choosing a character, I'd probably rather be Marvel than Black Panther.
Oh,
nice.
Damn.
I love Black Panther.
Hell
You've got control issues, that's alright.
I'm going to say Marvel too. I'm going to say I want to be the Green Goblin, but only if I am Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin.
You got just villain.
That's creepy as fuck.
Yeah.
He's just so sick. He's so sick.
He's a great actor. He's terrifying.
He is, yeah.
Let's get a move my chair.
Alright, would you rather have no eyebrows forever or a permanent monobrow?
I kind of do have a permanent monobrow.
Every time we ask this, there's someone that says that, and they're just
Yeah.
like, well, and it's like, oh god, sorry.
Yeah,
It's
I feel
a
really
big
shamed
one,
by
though.
this question.
It's a big
Body
one.
shame.
What's your answer, Daniel?
Yeah.
I would rather be me with my permanent monogram. Thank you very much.
I go no eyebrows because you can tattoo eyebrows on.
We didn't get to that. You don't get to pluck and you don't get to tattoo. You look.
This
the
is
way
an
you
extension of the question I've already
look.
answered.
So you get an answer.
No,
after
we
probably.
make the rules, buddy. Just
Can he draw more?
No,
Not tattoo.
it's just you're either no eyebrows. Also,
I'll go no eyebrows. I look weird enough anyway, so.
You think that?
I can't grow a beard. I've got 7 hairs on
my
my face, so it'd just match it anyway. So.
we're gonna need a razor over this stat. Alright, now this one is a divisive one.
It's not divisive.
It is.
So.
It is divisive.
Okay, you have to play a show. You go on
I don't
either in wet socks or wet underwear. Which you choose.
You start
I've done
right.
both, and they're both unpleasant in different ways.
You started in with cold wet underwear or cold wet socks?
I'm going to tell you something.
Please do.
I'm going to tell you something.
I'm wearing wet underwear right now.
Almost. No, but the fact
Well,
when,
we
when
can
we do
get
a
pretty
when we do a
disgusting,
long tour,
alright?
when we do a long tour, I will usually wear the same underwear for like basically like for every show until I get a chance to wash my show clothes. Like when I say my show clothes is like show clothes as in socks, underwear, everything that I wear every night until I get a chance to wash them.
Dry
Because-
clothes?
Everyone's like, oh,
yeah, I
it's
hang them out in
amazing,
the- I hang them out in the
so
sun to dry.
It can get pretty gross.
But the
too,
fact
like-
is, here's the thing: is if you like, what's worse, like having to do that or having like 10 pairs of sweaty underwear built up in a bag somewhere?
100%.
That's
the
the
fact
point.
you dry them out.
I
This is
do. I
cold
dry
wet
them.
underwear.
Usually dry them out.
Never go near the Polaris trailer when it's a long
No,
tour
so-
because there's smelly show clothes hung up in there, and it's yeah.
Yeah, there's like.
We probably shouldn't say too much. Fans are gonna start being like, oh,
No, they need to
I
know.
want to go near them now. I don't want that photo after the set. Like,
They're all
That's what
bleeding
it
out.
is.
Yeah.
So what's the answer?
You know, I know I'm gonna say I would rather play a show in wet underwear simply because like cold wet socks is gonna affect my footwork on the
That's
on
what
the
the
kit.
drummers say.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
say the same.
Right.
Yeah.
You got underwear?
It's gross, but yeah, I'd say the same.
You guys are the
You
first
just-
ones to just unanimously be on that.
Yeah, or you could just be like Jack from Void, and he just said,
You just gotta make do,
up,
dude.
Just wear none.
No underwear, no socks.
I could never freeball on and play a show. No fucking.
Oh no! Imagine if you had a Lenny Kravitz moment.
Well, if I'm sitting,
I bring my jeans
shorts
to Austin
in-
anyway. There's no way I could do that.
Depending how high the stage is, people could cop a view. Like,
Yeah,
nah.
At least with these rises though, they're not see-through, so like there's a bit of an area where like you can hold back and people can't see it.
Dangerous question.
Yeah. Oh, that's socks, hands down. Can't
Alright,
believe.
gonna finish off with bucket list band that you would just give anything to tour with.
Bring me the horizon.
Cool.
Oh, that's very possible.
No.
We've already ticked off Architects and Parkway, so bring me. Come at me, man. Yeah.
I feel like I need to go for something that's like really unlikely to ever happen.
Real big fish.
Great choice.
Why was that on top of your head?
I don't know. It's
Really good choice.
It's just complete left of field, man. That would be a great band to tour
When you
with.
said I went City Lauper in my head, that's where my first thought went.
Sick. I think I just got like System of a Down.
Oh, dude.
yeah, that's
Oh,
System
my
of a Down
God.
or Lamb of God. I'm Lamb of
Oh.
God, Lamb of God
Oh.
forever. Yeah, that's
Dream tour lineup's getting bigger and bigger here.
Now I'm really
Slipknot's
thinking.
been
Now I'm
very
really
popular.
thinking. I should probably retract my answer, but no.
Nah, Bring Me would be
No, I
fantastic.
stand by that. Bring me.
But yeah, Slipknot's been a very popular one as well.
Yeah, Slipknot's always on our list. You can't go past them.
These are things that could happen.
Yeah, I feel like maybe not a real big fish, but Bring Me's hella possible.
Oh yeah.
Because
guys
bands
are-
like Bring Me and
I'd
Slipknot.
like
I'd like our
that.
fingers
Oh,
crossed,
we're
maybe
similar,
one day.
we're
Yeah.
similar music, you know, like, I don't know. I think it may happen one day. I'd love for it to happen.
You guys
Ollie
make
Sykes,
it
if you bring me if you're watching this, we'd love to talk to you guys.
Yeah, Ollie's a big fan.
Love you,
I love that band, Johnny. They're both fuckwits. Dude, it's been a pleasure. Thanks
That's
for
been
taking the
fun.
time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys.
It's been awesome.
Oh, that freaking old.
Seamless content.